Hi, this is Răzvan Boar. Welcome to Nicodim Gallery, Bucharest, where I recently opened my latest solo exhibition titled Demo Flash 2. Let me show you around. So, Nicodim Gallery, Bucharest is a very big gallery with tall walls. So, what I did was to divide the space of the gallery into two separate rooms. And the first one, into which we are now, is an invitation to intimacy, but also discovery and, in a way, a place where I could exhibit my fascination with the medium of drawing. In many ways, the exhibition starts here with a hint of landscape. You'll see a lot of bones, you'll see a lot of trees and all sorts of characters scattered around, and every viewer who comes to the gallery must in a way create his own direction and his own path through the space of the gallery. As I said, everything started with this pandemic, and it was a rather intimate way of working, so I wanted to project that into this exhibition. So you'll see a lot of red drawings, and drawing is my favorite medium, so I wanted to just take a moment and be with myself and with my red paint and just build this narrative filled with comic artists that I love. We have one here, Andrea Pazienza, a very interesting Italian comic strip artist. But then figures from Etrusc history and from Romanian contemporary scene and so on. One of the most important ideas for this exhibition was to work with the idea of a house. As I said earlier, leaving the house to come here to the gallery to work, to prepare the show. So I had to integrate that into my ideas, into my plan. So I draw a lot of houses on the walls, but then I decided why not to build one. So in a huge space of the gallery, I decided to make another small one with rather rough walls. And of course it was painted, drawn just like the rest of the walls. And I invite the public and the viewers to pass from one environment to the other through the house, which became some sort of passage, almost like a bridge spanning two different environments. It's not an easy house. It's an unsettling house and a troubling house. Again, coming from the need to critique in a way these ideas of walls and confinement and so on. So this is the result of that. And I invite you to go through and reach the other side of the exhibition. We are in the second room now. It's a different room, different from the first. No drawings on the walls, but a different take on art history and my personal relationship with painting and sculpture. From the first room materialized into tall objects made from wood, plaster, mousse, clay, and it was very important to let the material show through, in the sense that I didn't want to cover up everything, and the mousse, for example, here had to be recognizable. and it's easy to see that I just created a lot of bones. In a way, you have to imagine Gino de Domenici's giant skeleton scattered all over the gallery, and every viewer has to, by himself, has to put together this new character. We have some matchsticks. Actually, they are giant matchsticks that don't work in the sense that you cannot light them. And that's the connection with DemoFlash 1, which happened last year in France, in Bucharest, Passerelle Centre. And this is the reason this particular show is called DemoFlash 2, because the first version happened in France, where I showed a lot of big matches scattered all over the floor. And to me, this represents my troubled relation with sculpture. Just, I guess, trying to create this sort of monument to nothing, almost, to this cheap object that burns in 2 seconds and then you throw it away, it's nothing. But then, if you play with the scale and with the materials and with the intentions and so on, it can exist in an art gallery and become part of a big show like that. Standing next to one of the works on canvas from this particular show. It's a recent work and one that I like very much, probably because I'm turning into the spider just here. And I guess this concludes our visit to Nicodim Gallery, Bucharest, and DemoFlash 2, my solo show here. Thanks everyone, bye-bye.
Hi, I'm I'm the global director of Megadeth, and it's been interesting as a gallery with a global presence how regional the pandemic has forced us to become. We normally travel to Bucharest, we travel to art fairs, we travel all over the world proselytizing for our artists, but the pandemic prohibited all of that and forced everyone to come inside. But there's been a lot of virtue for that, I think, in terms of community building. Like in the States, I'm sure you're aware, there was a lot of local social uprising in response to decades, centuries of systemic abuse against minority communities. And as representatives, artists from a lot of those communities, we felt a need to connect on that level. And Devin B. Johnson, one of our artists, was actually quarantined in Dakar, Senegal, even though he's from Los Angeles. He was at the Dakar, Senegal residency of Kehinde Wiley, and we were talking about how he could do something that wouldn't just make an impact for affected communities now, but go into the future. And so we ended up partnering with Gender Justice Los Angeles, which is grassroots, trans-led community organization that teaches trans people, specifically trans people of color, how to empower themselves and organize in a way so that they're not continually beat down by the system. And so, in addition to organizing an online fundraiser with a number of our artists and a number of artists from the local trans BIPOC community, the gallery has committed to do workshops with Gender Justice LA quarterly going into the future. And I think this is one of the ways as a gallery that this pandemic has forced us to look inward and how to change ourselves for the betterment of our communities so that everybody rises up when this thing is lifted and not just Another way we've been coping with the pandemic, while everybody's been at home, it hasn't taken away people's desire to see art, and so we've joined in community with a lot of other galleries in the local scene in Los Angeles in order to promote these galleries worldwide. And it became Gallery Association Los Angeles and Gallery Platform Los Angeles. It's an organization with 90 other Los Angeles galleries where every week every gallery gets a showroom in 8-week cycles. So we've been able to show our artists and our exhibitions to a global audience without ever having to leave the house. And I think this is going to be the way it is for a while. So we've been trying to expand our online footprint, both on Instagram. I think you've probably seen. If you haven't, you should go to our Instagram and check out. We did a series called Quarantine with Us. It's so amazing, where we did little music video visits with artists like Razvan Boar and Serban Savu, and I think there are a few other Romanians in there. We have some Romanian roots, as you know, and also through online exhibitions. We did one curated by Katarina Olschbauer, and as I mentioned before, or am I going to mention later, Devin B. Johnson curated a group show to benefit Gender Justice Los Angeles. So our goal is to use this decidedly awful pandemic as an opportunity to perhaps connect with more people in the digital realm if we can't give you a hug in person.
Hi, I'm Mihai from Nicodim Gallery. We have galleries in Los Angeles and Bucharest. We are here back in the gallery after a 3 months lockdown, and we're trying to get back to normal. The lockdown hit us while we were in the middle of an art fair in New York, the Armory Fair. Luckily we had a very good preview, but then 3 days later the city emptied out. In March it was scary. March and the first part of April was really scary. We didn't know which way we are going, and then I realized that the artists are still going to be make work, and we need to be here for them. We organized a couple of online group shows. We also put a show up, physical up in the gallery, even though the gallery was locked, and things worked out. We closed the gallery in Megadeth as well. So one day I was talking to Razvan Boar, who was just coming from France, where he lived for 6 months after a very successful show there. And he was looking for a studio space, and I had this gorgeous empty gallery, and I said, why don't you take over the space and play with it? We have these 7-meter white walls that we're not doing anything with it. So normally we only allow an artist like 1 or 2 weeks to develop a show, and he had 2 full months to play with the space. And he came up with this environment that you could hardly tell if it's an exposition, or if it's a studio space, or if it's a playground. I think it was very successful. It turned out to be a very successful show, and I'm happy that towards the end of it, some people actually got to see it live. Now we are slowly going back to normal, and we are thinking of the programs for next year, and we are developing our online presence too. I'm still a firm believer that the art has to be physically experienced, but we go with the times. See you soon in Bucharest.